Morning. I should say good afternoon all. My name is Jeff Harris, the 2025 president of the Maine Association of Realtors, and I want to say I'm proud to serve all the members and our communities and our consumers across the state. Uh, Today, I want to thank you all for showing up and attending this our RPR session and taking time out of your day. Also, I want to introduce Suzanne Guile. She's the Chief Executive Officer of MAR, who will monitor the Q&A section of this Zoom. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat section through the session, and we can answer them at the end. Also, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, Veronica McManus, Director of the Industry Relations of Realtors Property Resource, also known as RPR. Veronica is an accomplished real estate industry professional with 32 years of experience. Currently an Industry Relations Director at RPR. She helps MLSs and associations promote RPR, your realtor benefit. Her background includes representing buyers and sellers, franchise office management, real estate school director, and association and WCR leadership roles. Veronica is a certified continuing education instructor in several states and presents at industry events like NAR Next, Triple Play, and the State Association conventions. She holds both Massachusetts and Florida real estate broker licenses and several designations. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Suzanne and Jeff, for inviting me to participate in this Lunch and Learn. I'm delighted to be here to share RPR, your Realtor member benefit. RPR is included in your membership dues that you pay to NAR. It's part of your dues. It's already included. And I think you're going to be amazed by what you see here today. Even if you are a current user, I've got some new things to show you. And if you're not, if you're not familiar with RPR, I'm going to give you an overview of what RPR is today and show you where to get more information. And by all means, put your questions into the chat so that Suzanne can take a look at them. And Suzanne, too, if it seems like there's something that time is of the essence, feel free to interrupt me if you can get in a word edgewise.
Thank you, Veronica.
You're welcome. All righty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with a short PowerPoint to just give you a little bit of an overview, and then we're going to go live to the system. I always cross my fingers when I go live because, it's technology and the internet. Who knows what will happen? So sit back and relax. I'm going to take myself off screen so that you can focus to what you're looking at. And here we go. Terrific. So as I mentioned to you earlier, RPR is your Realtor member benefit. And what it is at its core that I want you to remember is that it's a parcel-centric database of residential and commercial properties. And what that means is that you can pretty much go in to RPR, plug in the search bar, pretty much any address in the United States, and get all of the public record data that's associated with that parcel. So, who owns it? What did they pay for it? Are there any mortgages? Is it in a flood zone? What's the density of that area? All of that information, the taxes. Is it in foreclosure? Because we have the largest database of distressed property information in the country because we pull from public record and we also pull from the MLS, the REOs, and the short sales. And I have started to see some of those in different marketplaces. In addition, you'll also be able to look at this as your database. It's only for you. We overlay the database with the MLS information, and we have almost 300 MLSs in the country, including Maine listings. We have their data available for all realtors to see the active listings. So pretty much if you're working with someone here in Maine, and perhaps they'd like to be a snowbird like myself and live in Florida, you can look at active listings throughout the state of Florida, as we have 99.9% of the MLSs in Florida displaying their active listings. So that's another advantage to you. We also overlay the information with economic, demographic, quality of life, and market statistics. There's no additional charge and there's no consumer access. And the beauty of that is that you can use everything and anything in RPR for prospecting, social media, snail mail, newsletter content. We want the consumer to go to you, the realtor, to get their information. So, in addition, I want you to know that this is just touching upon how realtors are using RPR. And if you have a moment, look in the lower right-hand corner and snap that QR code so that you can look at the 50 different ways that realtors are using RPR. But I want to bring your attention to the fact that we have so much data that you can use, because if you're like me and you got into real estate when we didn't have the internet, when we only had the book to look at the MLS listings, we controlled what the consumer had access to. And we don't. So now you, as a realtor, you have all of this information in one central database, alongside using main listings to get the data and interpret the data and put it into easily digestible reports. So you can give reports on opportunity zones, those areas where if someone purchases a property in that area, whether it's listed or not listed, that there are tax advantages. So if you're working with investors, you have a great resource for them. We have 3 different types of CMAs for you to do your CMA programming. So to create those CMAs. And what's really awesome is that you may have access through your brokerage or through main listings for a couple of different CMAs. I always suggest, and it's been used by a number of different realtors, to do all 3 so that you can really show that consumer that you have the information that, and typically what will happen is an offer price range for a buyer or a listing price range for a seller. They're pretty much within the same range regardless of the CMA that you use. But there'll be nuances amongst those 2 or 3 different CMAs that further reinforce that you are the real estate industry expert. We have commercial programs, commercial information, and I'll touch on that. But we have heat maps that show different economic and demographic information for the area, as well as all of FEMA's digitized flood maps. FEMA's maps are updated in the spring, typically April and May. We have points of interest, and again, that public records information, market trends and charts, and this pretty awesome thing called Scriptwriter that I'm going to show you. So also what you'll see is an RVM, a Realtor Valuation Model. This is our name for valuations that are put on different properties out into the marketplace. The most familiar one being the Zillow Zestimate, or Realtor.com has one. There are a number of different valuations out there. Those are called AVMs. The RVM takes it and steps it up a notch because we include additional information, and that's what makes the RVM more accurate than other valuations out there. Typically, if you see an RVM in RPR with a 4 or 5-star confidence rating, and I'll show you where that is in just a moment, you can be pretty sure that that property is within 10% plus or minus of fair market value 90 to 95% of the time. The last piece of information that you'll need is your physical inspection of the property. Because remember, regardless of whether or not it's an AVM or an RVM, it's only looking at numerical data. Only you, the real estate agent expert, the realtor, can go in and evaluate the roof, the bedrooms, the conditions, and then add in your knowledge of the market to fine tune that value. But the RVM gives a great starting point. So in addition to the RVM, and we have a Refine the Value tab that I'll show you, we have our CMAs, and we have other analytic tools that can help you help the consumer make an informed decision. So for commercial, for those of you that have been thinking about commercial or are dual practitioners, commonly known as residential, we have in RPR almost 600,000 commercial properties for lease and over 800,000 commercial properties for sale. And when you combine the off-market commercial sales and lease properties information that's available to you, it's over 57 million properties. What does that mean for you? That means if you have an investor that's looking for a property that's not listed, you have the data on the public record data information to prospect for that investor. If it's something that they're looking, in addition to, of course, our properties for sale and then the properties for lease. We get information from other commercial listing partners, so you don't have to belong to these other listing property databases. So you have Crexi, Brevitas, by proxy, Office Space, ICSC, Land Broker Co-op, Total Commercial, and Moody's. And I'll draw your attention to the left-hand side of the screen on the far left, this comp stack. This is gold. And it's gold because as a commercial practitioner, one of the biggest challenges is finding comps. So CompStack is a collection of comps. It's kind of like, I like to call it like crowdsourcing for comps, but instead of putting money into the till, you're putting in comp information. So if you have listed or sold a property, a commercial property, you can enter into CompStack that information and you'll get credit for that so that you can go in and pull out comps for yourself. RPR has created an opportunity for everyone to have 500 credits to start. So you're starting off with 500 credits to go in and pull out comps. The more comp information you put in, the more comps you'll get out. We have off-market information from ICE, formerly known as Black Knight, site selection, financial analysis, 2 different climate risks, tenant data, traffic counts, and those traffic counts are also over on the residential side. Where do we get data from on the residential side? Some of them overlap with commercial, but then we have the FEMA digitized flood maps. We have listing data from the MLSs, livability index from AARP, boundaries, points of interest, walkability, rental beast showing time, financial analysis with Valuate forms, with zip forms, and Snapdomit. Snapdomit is really awesome. Snapdomit, we've worked with this company to create renovation estimates on properties, and it's geographically priced. So if you are looking at a property with the buyer and the buyer says, what's that going to cost to put in that new kitchen or that new bathroom, you'll be able to plug in, you plug in what their wish list is, and then it will return an estimate for you. That's really cool, and it helps them to make an informed decision. I'm going to skip by this one and go right to our next gen reports. This is something new that's coming out. And for those of you that have been using our our legacy reports, you're going to love this because one of our questions was always, why can't I change things, or why I'd like to move things around. I'd like my pages to be in a different order. I don't need 87 pages in my report. I only need 10 pages. All of that is available to you. In addition, we always got the question of, do the reports automatically update? And now they will. So if there have been changes in the market for actives, pendings, and solds, that will be reflected in the report that is saved. And so, for example, you could use our market data report, link it into a website or link it into a Facebook post, and it will stay live for 1 year versus the old 30-day time limit, and it will update. So for example, let's just say you put in the Portland market and it's a market update. You've put that out to Facebook. If someone clicks on it between now and 1 year, it will show what is happening at that time. You can also preview the reports live, whereas before you had to create them and then go back and change it. And it's also available on mobile. So everything I'm showing you today is the desktop, and pretty much everything I'm showing you is in the mobile as well. And we have other opportunities for you to learn the other different features and do a deep dive. And I'll show you where that is in just a moment. Market trends and insights is something that we'll look at live that is phenomenal. This will give you at a glance what's happening in a particular marketplace for a particular property type. So at a glance, is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? How many months of inventory are available? What's the median sold price? That's all available in this top section, which we call a card. And this card is shareable. And I'll show you that live in a few moments. The rest of the page is going to be more of a deep dive, and we'll take a peek at that. You can take those market trends and create a script for a video, a social campaign, or analyze the metrics. We use Chat GPT for that, and you can customize it. On our homepage, if you're a first-time user, on our homepage and you just want a quick walk me through this, click on any of our guided tours at the top of the page, and you will literally be walked through step by step how to do what you want to do. Very simple. This is an example on the commercial side of our map search, but this is also on the residential side. And this is just one of our map layers that shows the 12-month change in estimated value. I love this map. And why do I love this map? Because you'll be able to, especially on the residential side, if a seller is sitting at the table saying, I want my price, and you have a fabulous offer in front of you, you could look at this map, and what is happening? Are prices increasing or are prices decreasing? And if that seller is sitting in a decreasing market, you can show to them that it's likely if they don't accept the offer that's on the table, the next one may not be as good because the market is changing and the consumers are aware of this. So this could be the picture is worth 1,000 words that you might need to show your seller that in fact they have a good offer in front of them. And this example actually was given to me by a realtor. I didn't make it up. This is an example of what a property sheet will look like. You have all of the different types of tabs at the top where you can look at the map info, the market trends, refined value, the CMAs, a neighborhood report with economic, demographic, quality of life, and market statistics, and your updates. You can enter in information into RPR on a property and you can enter that info that's only accessible by you because you're in there under your own unique username and password. You'll be able to get at a glance the RVM, the estimated RVM range, and this over in the right-hand side, that's the RVM confidence level. That's the score that tells us, is this a good RVM? Is this that 10% plus or minus that Veronica was talking about? Here's a little bit more about the RVM. You have the RVM, you click on the details, and the properties that were used in the RVM will pop up. There's one caveat to that. Because the algorithms use just numbers, they don't use style. They just use the numbers, bedrooms, bathrooms, lot size, gross living area, that type of thing. And it does not take into consideration style. So I want you to be cautious when sharing that detail because the seller doesn't necessarily understand why a Cape style home was included in the RVM when in fact the subject property is a colonial style. But that's how the algorithm works, and it does work.
We have a question. Can I
Yeah,
interrupt? Somebody
please.
just wrote, if the report lists an AVM versus an RVM, is that because the RVM is not available?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. Thank you very much. The reason why our RVMs are so accurate is because we will only create it if it has all of the information that's necessary that will return an RVM. And the information that's necessary is not just sold listings, but pending listings and active listings. And if it doesn't have all the info that it needs, it will return an AVM. And the AVM is not as accurate as the RVM. In addition, on rare occasions, you may not even see an AVM. Typically, that's going to happen in your more rural areas. And those of you that are practicing in a rural area, you know how difficult it is to find comps, and that is why it won't be created. Thanks to whomever posed that question. Here's a little bit more on the script writer. You can choose your tone, audience, data points, and we have some versatile formats. I'm going to go over this because we're going to look at it live. Commercial site selection. If you're working with an investor who's looking to purchase or lease, and they have certain criteria that needs to be met to determine whether or not what's the best location or where a good location is, you are able to enter that criteria into RPR, and it will return those areas that have the best, that have the highest and amount of the criteria that's necessary. And that will be shown in the deeper lavender, and it goes from light, almost white lavender to a dark purple. As you can see here up in the upper right hand corner, the criteria match. No match, good, better, and best. It's a fabulous tool. It's used frequently. As a matter of fact, a franchisee wanted to open up a Crumble Cookies. So it was a Crumble Cookies franchisee. And that Crumble Cookies franchisee worked with a realtor who used RPR. And that's where how they were able to select the location for the Crumble Cookies. And we've gotten feedback that, that we actually used this as a case study because it was a perfect example of service a realtor was able to provide using RPR. Also within RPR Commercial are features called a trade area report with consumer segmentation. There's a company called ESRI that has gone through the demographics of the country and created 68 different segments. And those segments, for example, in this example, metro renters, laptops and lattes, golden years, etc. And it fits into those different headings the criteria that makes them want to be called metro renters. So for example, you can find this in, you can find out what's the percentage of households, what's the household type, what's their median income, what do they do for work, what's their education. All of that information, that economic and demographic information, is very important to those commercial practitioners. All of this that I've talked about and all that we'll get to in the live and all that we won't get to is available in RPR Mobile. So you have within your hands an extremely powerful tool that you can use out in the field at a glance. Casual conversations, we all know whenever we say that we're a real estate agent or a realtor, that everyone, their first question is always, well, how's the market? Well, what's going on? And you can give them a better answer than saying, oh, it's awesome, it's unbelievable. You can go in and quickly plug in a zip code and find out at a glance, is it a seller's market, a balanced market, a buyer's market, how much inventory is on there? And then you can take that information and dig a little deeper and just ask them, oh, well, why don't you, what's your property address? Or I can send this to you. You could send that to them right then and there while you're in line at the supermarket. And that can happen with the market trends or with a neighborhood report. Also, just so that you know, and we'll be promoting this, your broker can enroll in the broker toolset at no cost to brand RPR to your brokerage. On the next gen reports on the go, we've already talked about that. Learning library. On our blog, blog.narrpr.com, blog.narrpr.com. You can come in and you can look at our webinars. We have webinars, videos, ebooks, and flyers. So however you like to learn, we have this information for all realtors, and there's no cost for the training. You can watch a webinar, a recorded webinar, attend live. You can do a deep dive on the different parts of RPR. And all of this is available to you at no charge at your Realtor member benefit of RPR. So I'm going to go live. This is a great opportunity if you have any questions to pop into the chat, and let's go. So first off is that RPR is accessible at narrpr.com. If you haven't yet excuse me, created your username and password, you'll just follow the prompts and the wizard will show you how to create that username and password that is unique to you. When you go in, you'll select main listings as your MLS. If you belong to any other MLSs, you can also add that information in as well. And then your first page is your landing page. In the upper left-hand corner is where you toggle from residential to commercial to do a quick search. Oftentimes, the first time a realtor uses RPR is because they get that listing call that they want to plug in a property address. And they'll plug in that property address and find out all they can about the property. And we'll do that in just a moment, but I just want to quickly review what's here on the home page. Research. This is great when you come in and say, oh, Veronica talked about those residential market trends. Let me do that. And you come in, grab the market trends. You can do a map search if you have a buyer client or buyer customer that says, hey, I'd like to look in this particular area. You can look by map. You can look by school search. You can look at a residential market activity and then our commercial information. We'll show you how to market yourself for prospecting for residential clients or commercial clients, how to create a residential property flyer or a commercial property report. We have all of that, and we'll even give you some marketing tips. We really are here to be a partner with you the same way the association, the MLS, and your brokerage is. We are here for you to help. These are our different reports. If you want to go right in and do one of our legacy reports over here. If you're new to RPR, I'm going to suggest that you go right in and start looking at our next gen reports that are currently in beta, which means you can absolutely start using them and you can even give us feedback. So if you say, hey, I loved the CMA, but I'd like to see this particular feature. So if you're new, I'd go right over to beta. And if you're a creature of habit like myself, and just start, checking it out. Start checking it out because I know that if you get that CMA call, you're going to want to directly go to what you know. But take a little time and start exploring the beta next gen reports that are in beta because those will be live sooner than you think. We're looking at the end of Q4, maybe the beginning of Q1 26, but start going in now. For help, this is super important. Whatever page you're on, click on help because our help is available all day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday, 8:30 to 5. You can chat, you can go to training, send an email. Learn. If you click learn, it will give you a little bite of learning on the page that you're on. So whatever page you're on and you need some help, click learn and you'll get this selection. And that's it, your work. So you don't have to search around for what you've already done. Just go right in here and click on whatever feature it is that you need. And the rest of the homepage is like this, your listings, your properties, your searches, and help, and our blog and training. So let's get into the meat of the situation And I already picked this particular property because it is listed, but it also shows you the public record info that you would find if this property was not listed. So I want to just show everything to you. So I plugged in this property across the top of the page, the information, map location, market trends, refined value, CMA, neighborhood, and your updates. And we'll look at each of these. You can look at different types of photos, even historical photos if the property had been listed before. Snapshot at the top, it's active, 4 beds, 4 baths. The RVM, 881,730, list price is 879. Our estimated value range. Here's that confidence level. And notice these little eyes with the circles. If you see a little eye with a circle, click on it, or a question mark, click on it. It will explain to you what you're looking at, where we got the information, how often it's updated, and so on and so forth. Another snapshot of the public record info. You can see that this previously sold for $665 in 2022. Lower down on the page, you can also look at that listing. You can look at our pricing, go right from here to our pricing tools. We'll go there in a moment. This shows where it is on the map. Here are the property facts. You can put in your own changes over here. For example, if you had to go through one bedroom to get to the next bedroom. I know in my marketplace, both in Florida and in Massachusetts, that's not a bedroom. That's going to be a den, a future walk-in closet. You can't call it a bedroom. So I'd put 3 in here, and this is only saved for me. If you use any of these other additional resources, you can go right over to them. Here's the listing information that, so you can just pick up the phone and call that agent, or send them an email, etc. Listing details, homeowner info. And this is a combination now, when we're on the left-hand side of the page, a combination of interior features, exterior features, and also legal description, etc. Home information, etc. Recording, deed, mortgage information, tax information, all here. Sales and financing, what's been happening currently in the MLS with pricing, price reductions, etc., estimated value. So let's take a look at market trends, because let's say we're working with a buyer that wants to know about this property and the property and what the market is like. You can, at a glance now, show that buyer that it's most definitely a seller's market in Portland for single family homes here in the upper right hand corner. The drop down will give you the other property types that you can select. This is a single family home. So right off the bat, we can tell that seller, excuse me, that buyer, look, this is a seller's market. So if this property meets your criteria, you may want to move quickly. You may want to move with a strong offer. So that's going to be super helpful. I'm just going to scroll quickly down here about the other deeper dive that you can do in the marketplace. Active listings, sold listings, and you'll notice that our data goes back many years. In this particular these two cards, it goes back to May of 20. We can see sold public records, so those properties that sold off, including the off-market properties, your listing inventory, median estimated property values going back to September of 2010, sold comp stats. So now let's scroll back up to the top of the page, and let's look at creating a script for Portland, Maine. I'm going to digress from a moment from working with a buyer looking at this property, because now what I want to do as a realtor is I want to create a script where I'm going to do, say, the Monday market stats, and I want to sound friendly and casual. I'm targeting my buyers and sellers, but I could also target first-time buyers, move-up buyers, investors, luxury, downsizing, distressed sellers, say for a different application. I'm not going to create a video script, but if I wanted to, I could. The video scripts will tell me what to do, what to say, what to show, and we also have an ebook for you on our blog. I want a social campaign though. And while that's generating, I'm just going to open up my Facebook. Okay, so here it is. Look at how quickly that generated anywhere typically from 3 to 5 scripts for a social campaign. And I'm going to copy this one. And if I wanted to, I could copy all the text. I can export it to PDF or Word to text. I can send it by email. If I wanted to be super analytical, I could do an analyze the metrics. But I want a social campaign. So I copied that first script. And now I'm going to share it to Facebook. I can share it to Facebook, I can share it to X, LinkedIn, or I can create a JPEG, PNG, or copy it. But I'm going to share to Facebook. It's ready to share. Share to Facebook. So that first card got shared, and now I'm going to enter my script. And I'm going to say Market Update Monday. I have the script, it has a call to action. I can add more information. I can add more tags. It's entirely up to you. So I've done this. So now I want to share this post. And so share. And there it is. And if I wasn't talking, it would have taken even less time. So every Monday you can pick uh, create your own Market Trends Monday. It couldn't be anything that you want. Tell the story Tuesday, but you can use this for your market trends. You can use this for a great prospecting campaign. So that was using my campaign, my prospecting using market trends. I could refine the value on this property. Say the property wasn't listed and say that I just wanted to do a quick refine the value. This is going to be adjusted, but I want you to know it's still staying. But so, for example, maybe there have been some changes that aren't reflected in public record. Maybe there's a new kitchen. You could come in here and you could add on the square footage. It will change this. This information comes from a company called, it's formerly the folks that published Remodeling Magazine, and they have published this and have created these value improvements, value refine the value home improvements. So these values that say a new kitchen could be are geared towards the northeast. So we're not talking about, different parts of the country. So this is geographically appropriate pricing. And you can look in and say, oh, they did an upscale bathroom remodel. So you'll want to make sure, does this remodel describe what's there? Or was it more of a mid-range bathroom remodel? You'll put in the date completed, the cost, and it will return what that change in value is. So let's just say they did it in 2021 and that they did it in June. Of course, they're telling you it's new, but it's not new. It's 4 years old. And at that time, that basic remodel, let's just say it was $30,000. And if we add that improvement, it will show that today's value of that bathroom is 14,692. And I want to show that in addition to the RVM, so it will increase that RVM value. I'll tell you from personal experience, I used this on my own home that I sold in 2014, that a number of home improvements that I had done on the property were not reflected in the value. It was about $100,000 off. Once I added in all of the improvements, I came to my sale price was within $1,500 of what I had figured out using that refine the value. But here's our CMA. Let's go to the CMA, the meat and potatoes of our business. So this is how you do a CMA. This is what we're calling them here in the legacy reports. In the next gen reports, those are referred to as CMA, but the same process is in place, whether you're using the legacy or the next gen report. So this is the process. confirm all the information is correct, make any corrections that you need, and then confirm those facts and close. And then the next step will be finding your comps. I'm not going to go through this as if it's real. I'm just going to go through it to show you how it works. And I would probably use 6 months. And then I'm going to go 3 to 4 bedrooms, 3 to 4 bathrooms. I don't use the living area or the lot size. Now, if I do nothing else to the map or anything, it will pull comps in this area. But I see 95 running right through the middle of my page, kind of a little bit. And a lot of times, if you're on one side of a highway or a road like Westbrook, the values may be different. So what I might want to do is draw a shape. I might want to say, you know what? I'm just going to scroll this out just a little bit. And I'm going to say, and this is just for conversation, I'm going to say I want to only look at properties to the right of 95 or to the east of 95, and I don't want to go beyond Congress Street, and I don't want to go beyond Capisic Street. Sorry if I'm mangling that. And I'm just going to go up here and join this. And then I would do my search. Or I could edit the area. So let me do my search. Let's see if any comps show up. And I've got a lot of comps here. So these comps will now be populated down in the bottom of the page. And I'm just going to randomly select the comps because I don't know this market. But I'm going to randomly select these comps so that you can get an idea. Now I will update my valuation and close this section of the CMA. And now I will make my adjustments. So here it averaged the comps and gave a range. You can certainly edit that if you'd like. Here we're adjusting the comps. And again, for conversation, I'm going to say, okay, this comp is actually a little bit better than my subject. This one's about the same. I'm going to say this is a little nicer. How am I arriving at that? If I was actually doing this, of course, I would go in and evaluate these listings and these comps and how they compare to my subject property. And then I'm going to look at this. Oh, this was a little nicer. This was a little nicer. Oh, you know what? I've decided I don't want to use this one. So I am going to delete it and click this small X here. And now I have 5 comps. I've made my adjustments. If I want, I can put some notes in here either for myself or for the seller. If I want to include it for the seller, I'll just say include in my reports. I'll check this off. We can see I've made, yes,
No, go ahead. Finish.
I've made some adjustments and now I'm going to update my valuation and close. And here is where, now this is where I'm able to add in to fine tune this. I can, because this range was pretty high to low, because of course I didn't pick appropriate comps. But even if I had and I wanted to, I could tweak this range. I know in Massachusetts, I'm actually not allowed to give a specific number. I have to give a range because I'm not a licensed appraiser. And so then maybe I'd go 825, 1, 2, 3. So I would leave this blank, the enter the value. I would leave that blank. Were I practicing in Massachusetts? If you're allowed to put a number in here, go right ahead. And then I'll save it. And then I would create my seller's report. So while that's being created, I defer to Suzanne. What's happening, Suzanne?
Sure, I had a couple of questions and sorry, one of them was back when you did the example about the improvement to the bathroom and then you created the value that was 4 years old. When you make changes in the value due to the upgrades or square footage, does that stay with the home permanently?
Only for you.
Okay.
Yep, only for the user because you're going in using your own username and password, so you're in your account. This is an awesome way that when you're out in the market and you're going on broker tour or you're going to open houses or you're visiting properties with buyers, You can make notes as you're going along. You have your RPR mobile. You can pull that property up in RPR mobile and make your changes about and make different notations so that you now have this really granular um, information on a property. So great question. Thank you.
Fabulous. And I had one other question, but I'm not sure that I understand it. It says, what is the quote report bell, unquote? I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
It might be a graphic that you had. This was from about 10 minutes ago or so. But maybe that person will give us more detail.
Yeah. So now let's go to the reports. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Oh, so now we want to go to a report and then we would want to customize that report. Custom pages. You all have 5 custom pages that you can put into all of your reports, and you do that over here on the right-hand side, manage your custom pages. And you can put in testimonials, you can put in a bio, you can put your marketing plan in, whatever you want. These are your pages that you want to show the consumer. And here's where you decide what elements that you want to include in the property. I'll give you a tip down here where it says market activity. If you check off market activity, you're going to get all the market activity for actives, pendings, recently sold, distressed, expired, whatever you have checked off. And that's a lot of pages. Typically, most folks, and I included, really only want to use the comps that I've selected. So I'm not gonna, that's my, where it says your comps. And maybe I just want to look at market activity just on a map, just to give an overall view. But if you include all of these, you'll have way too many properties and too many pages. And here's where you determine what you want to include, how many photos, do you want your notes? Here's where if an RVM or an AVM is, let's say the RVM is for 750,000 and I've told you that an RVM is very accurate. But what if you were in the property and you saw that because of the condition or because of the location, what's happening, that RVM or AVM really isn't something you'd want to share with the consumer, because when you go in and you see all of these things, you know that the property is not really not worth the 750,000. It's probably more in the 650 range. You can suppress the estimated value for the subject property, the comps, and you can even suppress a refined value for the subject property. That refined value is when I went in and made that adjustment for the bathroom. From here, you'll run that report and it will be available to you. This is with the legacy reports. The next gen beta reports are a little bit different. Let's go in now. We've looked at the market trends. We did a little bit of prospecting. We touched on creating the CMA, creating the reports. Mobile's a different class. The other feature that there are so many other features that you would like, I'm going to just touch upon two. For example, and also, if anyone has heard anything about RPR and they want to and they want to know a little bit more about that, they can feel free to plug it into the chat and we'll cover that as well. I do want to go back to reports and I want to look at the report templates because I want to show you what those reports will do.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Let me just wrote a question. If you are licensed in more than one state and you refine the value by adding a new roof, for example, is the same value added in Florida and Maine?
Great question. No, the value that's going to be refined, it's only for a subject property and in the location that address. So when I just did this for Portland, Maine, it's a refinement for Portland, Maine. If I'm down in Florida and I'm working on a listing down there and I want to refine the value for that bathroom, it's going to reflect Florida area refinements.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's take a look at I'm going to look at one of these reports and we're going to look at a seller report. It's a template. So you're creating a template that will become a report. And let me grab this address. Hang on a moment. Whoopsie daisy. Let's cancel that. Let me go back to download that report. And I'm just going to grab this property address. And so let's go. Let's look at my templates that I've already created. And I'm going to do a seller report. I'm going to add the location. And I'm going to I'm going to just say this, let's just say this is for a buyer because I want to create this report for the buyer to have all the information that's available about this property. The process is the same for all of the templates. So it will have the photo, my information, and your information is adjusted up here in the upper right-hand corner for your profile. I'm not going to go through it, but just make sure that everything that you would like to show up on your cover page is in your profile. So your bio, that's a custom page. So fill out your bio and maybe include that as one of your custom pages. And to manage your custom pages, you just click on it and you can update and add or subtract any custom pages. Whoops, I'm just going to go back here. Okay, these are all the different, where the different pages will show up, but let's just go back here to where I was. I'm sorry, I pressed the wrong button. It happens. And we're in reports. We're examining the report templates. And I was in here for let me scroll down a bit. There we go. My buyer. Okay, continue. So that's the bio, property summary. This is where you can include or exclude any features. So you're working with the buyer, you're working as a buyer agent, perhaps the buyer client has asked you to create a CMA on a list price range, a CMA range that they should be a good range to create that, put in an offer. And you can suppress the AVM or RVM details if you want. Excuse me. You can, so you do that. And then let's just say here we're at property information, but you know what? I would like the property information to be at the top. Did you see here where I just changed this on the left-hand side? I just grabbed those 6 dots and I moved it because I want my property information at the top for whatever reason. And within property information, there are 21 elements. So I can include the elements that I want. I can also change the location of these elements as well. So maybe I want, maybe I have the description, but maybe I want the property facts to be up, whoopsie daisy, up first. So can you see how you can include and exclude different elements? You can move them around within the report. This was a huge ask by our users, and we're really happy that we can do this. Here are the maps that are available, and maybe you don't want any maps, or maybe you want all the maps. So you just check and uncheck. And can you see how that on the right-hand side, as you check and uncheck the different features, you can see them being added or subtracted. So this is your live preview. And then as you're previewing, as I'm scrolling through here, let's just say, oh, you know what? oh, here I am. I'm looking at this, and in this, I've decided I don't want the historical photos. So up here, I'll just click the trash can and they're gone. So here you go. Here's our pricing strategy. You know, do I want to include all the elements? How do I want it? What do I want to do? So this information came from that previous report that I did. I can do a CMA within here. Always keep the RPR, about RPR right here. Always keep this section in. This makes you the source of information. So as you can see here, folks, these ancillary services, those are with the broker tool set, where you can add in if you have an affiliated business with a mortgage, with title, with it could be a concierge service, white glove service. You can include that as well. There's no charge for that. And here we are at 4 minutes of one, and I've only just touched the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to RPR, but you can see how beautiful these reports are laid out. It's one of the things that Jim mentioned about how easy they are for the consumer to digest, how easily now with our beta, next gen beta reports that you can include or exclude different features, move the pages around, etc. I'm going to go back here to the home page. I'm going to click on reports. And for example, these are all of the reports that you can create. These are your commercial reports. You can do a flyer. You can do a neighborhood report for economic, demographic, quality of life in a particular area. And I'm going
Can
to,
I stop you for a second? That
yes.
question about the report bell was on that report drop down you just showed us.
Oh, okay.
In the
So
upper left, it said you could toggle it on or off. Right there.
yep, that's the bell. It's a look sounds like a doorbell and it will ring when your report is ready.
Oh,
Yeah. And I'm glad yeah.
notification.
Yeah. So let me just tell you, if any of you have a dog, you're gonna want to turn that off. Okay, that's why mine's off
Thank you,
from my,
Veronica.
yep, being a fur mama at one time. Um, so I just plugged in a zip code and I'm going to run the report for the neighborhood report. So because with all of these reports, the neighborhood report, the school reports, a mini property report, here's a tip. Everything you do on the desktop or the mobile, it syncs with each other. So, for example, if you're doing an open house, have a copy of each of the reports that you'd like to share with the consumer, and then nail it down on the kitchen counter. And when the consumer says, oh, this is an awesome neighborhood report that's telling me about the information on the housing stats and charts on the neighborhood and median listing price value. Oh, this is really great information. Can I take this? You're going to say no. But give me your phone number and I can text it to you, because you'll have your reports open and then you're going to click share and then you're going to send it to them via email or via text. And you've now created a business relationship with them and you've captured that lead. So all the reports can be shared to Facebook. They can be shared via text, via Zoom. From the mobile, you can also send it to X or you can send it to Twitter. And the last thing that I'm going to show you in this last minute, but of course I'll stay a little longer, I want to show you our blog, because that's where you're going to be able to do a deep dive into learning. And you can come here however you like to learn. On the left hand side of the page, click how you like to learn, and on the right hand side of the page, that information will come up for whatever topic you want. So for you folks today, I definitely suggest that if you haven't used RPR before, that you're just going to want to come down here and take the tutorial basics and beyond. And then you're also going to want to start exploring our other webinars that will show you how to take this information and use it with a deeper dive. So for example, I quickly just showed you one way to share a report, the market trends to Facebook. But if you take this, transform local data into social media success with the RPR scriptwriter, it's going to expand and give you a more robust plan and strategy for using our information. Also, you're going to want to take mobile. So all of that is all here available to you. And what you're going to do is you're going to click here, you're going to register whether if you want a live webinar for one of these dates or on demand, it will send you the recording. But let's say you want to attend live on July 15 at 2 o'clock, and then lo and behold, you get that CMA call. Well, I know CMA or a webinar. Of course, you're going to take a CMA call, but you wanted this webinar. We'll send it to you. If you register, we will send you the recording. So that is my high-level overview, just touching on what's available with RPR. I know it's a lot. I imagine that there's some heads exploding, which is truly typical. But I'm available to go back and look at anything, or if you have any other questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Veronica. I would like to tell everyone that we have recorded today, and we will release the recording in next week's e-news. And also, Veronica's going to give me some links with some of these, the blog link, because it's
Yep.
where the training is and all of that. So be looking for some resources in e-news, and we should have an e-news going out on Monday next week. Anything you'd like to add, Jeff?
Yeah, I want to thank you, Veronica, for giving us this presentation today. I've used RPR a lot and it's great. And you know, I use it as a quick snapshot, but I also do a deeper dive with it at times. So, but thank you very much for attending and giving us the presentation. I'd also like to say to the members that are on screen here to just stay tuned for upcoming lunch and learns. Just stay tuned, and if you have anything that you think you would like to have us put on for a lunch and learn, send your information to Suzanne, and we'll see what we can do. And I want to thank everyone for attending, and it's a pretty nice afternoon out. It's going to get warm. I hope you all have a good weekend. So
Great.
happy Wednesday.
Thank you,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Suzanne.
Veronica. It was fabulous.
Good. I'm
It
glad.
was.
Take
Yeah.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good day.